Joining us now to break down an angle that doesn't get talked about nearly enough in the immigration issues that are going on right now is Chief Programs Officer at GLAAD, Zeke Stokes. Welcome to the Damage Report.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, we're glad to have you on. So we've been talking a lot about what's been going on at the border, the horrendous conditions that migrants are being held in. But one aspect of the story that doesn't often get focused on is the sort of unique problems and issues surrounding how the immigration and asylum policies affect members of the LGBTQ community in particular. And I would love to learn more about that.
Sure, there are about 900,000 LGBTQ immigrants in the United States, and about 260,000 or so of them are undocumented. And so, obviously the first important thing to remember here is that asylum seeking is a legal form of immigration. So these are not people who are arriving in this country illegally, and many times they're traveling and they're traveling to the US and fleeing very horrific homophobic, transphobic conditions in their own countries in Central and South America in particular. And so, when we look at the situation of children in cages and people in cages behind chain link fences at the border, the thing that we've been so outraged about, it does impact LGBTQ people in some cases a little bit differently. That's because, if you don't have access to your hormone therapy and other medical interventions for transition, then transgender people are obviously are affected in a different kind of way. Also, many people who may be HIV positive who aren't getting their medications, those are critical days and critical hours to have a break in medication. And so if they're not providing that kind of health care, and of course we know they're not, then LGBTQ people are being affected in ways that are very unique to them, but also are fleeing these countries in ways that are very unique to our community.
So that's a long list of concerns that are very real, and we know that, they're fleeing from countries that they're incredibly at risk there. They're coming to a country that is moving in the exact wrong direction on many of these issues we know. Do we have accounts of migrants that are being mistreated in this particular way? I know that people are being denied access to places to sleep and soap and things like that. So I'm assuming that the treatment has been quite horrendous.
Absolutely, we do know. We do hear from them at GLAAD. We do have a network of resources where we can point people, the ACLU, the Immigration Law Project, other places that we point people to receive assistance. But we do know that at least 2 trans women have died while in custody because they weren't receiving proper health care, or they were in conditions that just were untenable for them. And that's just what we know about. We know of one woman who was sent back to the country from which she came, and then died there very quickly because of the conditions in that country. She was a victim of violence back in her home country. So we do know that it's happening, and you are right. These immigrants are arriving at a country that is moving backwards on LGBTQ rights, not forward. We've seen this administration issue more than 100 attacks in both policy and rhetoric on the LGBTQ community since the president took office, and we track those through our Trump Accountability Project here at GLAAD. Your viewers can go on glaad.org/Trump to see all of those attacks, and it's everything from removing us from the White House website on the day of his inauguration, all the way through removing us from the census, banning transgender service members from the military, promoting so-called religious liberty that is really nothing more than a license to discriminate. We see it day in and day out. A network of judges appointed across the country who are insistent and intent on turning the clock back on the progress that we've made over the past 50 years. So it's a bad time to be LGBTQ in this country. But even so, these folks are arriving at a place that's better than the place that they're coming from, where they're fleeing violence, they're fleeing persecution, they're fleeing terrible conditions, and we should be welcoming them as we welcome all immigrants fleeing and arriving here for asylum with open arms and open hearts.
And finally, we have the ICE raids that have been rumored to be starting. Depending on who you talk to, they either started last weekend or ICE officials are saying that they didn't. But assuming that they do proceed, do you have particular advice considering the concerns that we've been talking about?
Sure. This is a terror tactic by the president, and whether they're happening at the same level that was reported in the media or not, we tend to believe that they're not. The fact is that these kinds of this kind of rhetoric is sending immigrants, migrants, their families further into the shadows, further into the closet, and we see folks who are scared to go to work, they're scared to go to church, and so they lose if they stay in their home, they lose if they go to work because they're afraid that they may face some action there. So it's likely that they're losing their jobs because they're now afraid to go to work. So these are really, really terrible conditions. And if people are feeling threatened in their home, the first thing they should know is unless an ICE agent has a warrant, they can't enter your house without a warrant for arrest. A warrant for deportation or removal is not enough. Even if someone opens their door and asks for ID from the immigration agents, the ICE agents, that opening of the door does not allow them to come into your home. Go to the ACLU website at aclu.org, where there's an amazing list of resources. Go to GLAAD.org, where we have an amazing list of resources that can really help people stand up for themselves, know their rights, and fight back.
Very important information, very timely as well. And so Zeke Stokes, we want to thank you for joining us and breaking down these issues for us.
Thanks so much for having me, John.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this clip from the Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.